The streets of Brooksville were always alive with noise. Vendors shouting their prices, children running around, cars honking, and music spilling out of shops. But among all these sounds, there was one that often made people stop: the soft strumming of a guitar. On the corner of Willow Street sat a boy named Ethan. Barely 12 years old, with messy brown hair and worn-out clothes, Ethan wasn't just another face in the crowd. He carried an old guitar, his father's last gift before passing away. The wood was scratched, the strings were uneven, but when Ethan played, it sounded magical. Life was not easy for Ethan. His mother, Clara, worked day and night as a seamstress, trying to make ends meet. Some days, there wasn't enough food on the table. Ethan felt the weight of responsibility, even at his young age. He didn't complain, but he wanted to help his mother. That was why he sat on the streets every evening, playing his guitar and collecting coins. Sometimes, people ignored him. Sometimes, they even laughed. But other times, strangers smiled, nodded their heads to the rhythm, and dropped a few coins into his tin box. For Ethan, those coins weren't just money, they were hope. At night, when Ethan returned home, he would count the coins carefully. Some days, there were enough to buy bread or milk. Other days, just a few cents. But no matter what, Ethan always set aside a little to replace broken strings for his guitar. Lying on his bed, he often dreamed of standing on a real stage. He imagined bright lights shining on him, hundreds of people listening to his music, and his mother sitting proudly in the front row. But every time, he shook his head and whispered to himself, "That's just a dream, Ethan. Boys like you don't play in concert halls." Still, deep inside, the dream never left him. One evening, Ethan decided to play a new melody he had secretly practiced. It wasn't from the radio or any street performer, it was his own creation. His fingers trembled at first, but soon, the music flowed like a story. It spoke of struggle, love, and hope. People passing by began to gather. The air grew quiet as Ethan poured his heart into the strings. And, in that moment, fate stepped in. Among the crowd was a man in a dark suit, carrying a briefcase. His name was Mr. Harrison, the director of Brooksville's Grand Concert Hall. He had heard countless musicians, but something about Ethan's music stopped him. It was raw, pure, and filled with emotion. When the boy finished, the crowd applauded. Mr. Harrison walked up, dropped a $20 bill into the tin box, and said, "Young man, you have something special. How would you like to play on a real stage?" Ethan froze. His heart pounded. A real stage," he stammered. "Mr. Harrison handed him a card. "Come to the concert hall tomorrow. Show me what you've got." The next day, Ethan could barely eat. His mother was shocked when he told her. At first, she thought it was a prank, but when she saw the card with the concert hall's address, tears welled in her eyes. "Your father would be so proud, Ethan," she whispered, hugging him tightly. That evening, Ethan stood backstage at the Grand Concert Hall. The lights were dazzling, the curtains heavy, and the audience stretched farther than his eyes could see. His hands shook as he held his guitar. "What if I mess up? What if they laugh?" he whispered to himself. But then he remembered the streets, the coins, the smiles of strangers, and his father's words. "Music comes from the heart, son. If you play with heart, the world will listen." Taking a deep breath, Ethan stepped onto the stage. The hall was silent. Ethan sat on a stool, closed his eyes, and began to play. The first notes echoed softly, then grew stronger. Every chord carried his struggles, his mother's sacrifices, and his father's memory. The audience listened in awe. Some closed their eyes, others leaned forward, but no one made a sound. By the time Ethan strummed the final note, the hall exploded into applause. People rose from their seats, clapping and cheering. Ethan opened his eyes, tears streaming down his cheeks. For the first time, he wasn't just a boy from the streets, he was a musician, standing tall in a concert hall. From that day, his life changed. Newspapers wrote about the street musician who touched the city's heart. Invitations poured in for him to perform. Yet, no matter how big the stage became, Ethan never forgot where it all started, the street corner with his old guitar and a tin box. And every now and then, he would return to that same corner, not to earn coins, but to remind himself and others that dreams can rise from the humblest beginnings. Sparkle's moral: true talent and determination can turn struggles into success. No dream is too small, and no beginning is too humble.